are. Make it Truth Frequency Radio.
Venezuela, we've got a situation where it's like the interest rates are all of a sudden 32%.
Yeah, something around 20 a lot last time I checked, and with an inflation rate of around 2,300 expected for this year. You need to buy for the amount of 70 million units to buy some shoes.
Wow.
And there's not lots of product in the places. It's something that needs to be approached very carefully.
Yeah.
Because in Spain, the people that works for the dark side, like Felipe González, who was a prime minister of Spain, but also a CIA agent, it's been proven.
Oh, my God.
Or José María Aznar. These guys are attacking Maduro. So for me, you have to understand, I've learned the world I live in I'm 4 years old. Because before that, I knew nothing. So first, when you see these bad guys attacking Maduro, immediately you go for what you consider to be the underdog. But then when you study a bit more, and when I tried to approach them, when Spain was threatening me and doing these things, I went to the consulate in Barcelona and telling them that I could bring down Spain, and not only that, but possibly Scotland breaking up from UK. And first time they were attentive to me, but when I came back, they treated me like something the dog brought in. That's not very coherent with what they say they are.
Now, hang on, David. So that was the consulate of Venezuela. I mentioned that the banks in Argentina back in the 1990s captured everybody's money. We saw a very similar thing with the Greek economic crisis, people trying to get their money out of the banks. The bank said no, and they limited the amount of money that people could get hold of. We had Hugo Chavez, the man who famously went to the United Nations to give a speech, and before his speech he kind of wafted his hand in front of his face because George W. Bush was the previous speaker, and Hugo Chavez was trying to say, "Woof, sulfur," as if the devil had been actually standing there before him. Hugo Chavez died relatively suddenly. I think it was cancer or some kind of other disease, but it was a sudden death. He was a very, very big favorite with the people. He promised to pull Venezuela out of the quagmire. I mean, remember, Venezuela has got oil. It's got emeralds. It's got diamonds. It's got timber. It's got tourism, because remember, Venezuela is a great place for in terms of the weather. There is everything going for it, but the colonial ties to the Spanish royal family in Madrid, the tentacles of that royal family we were discussing in the earlier part of the show, have really got a grip on all of these Latin American countries. Plus, we see that there is a religious set of tentacles which is controlled from Rome with the Vatican. The Vatican is also running its own banking and financial business. It's been wrecked with loads of scandals with Vatican banks and Vatican-linked investment programs. And now we have Maduro. And Maduro, my big question, David, to you, as I asked you on Facebook before we started this broadcast, do you think Maduro is loyal to the social program to help the working class people of Venezuela? Is he loyal to the legacy of Chavez? You're basically saying, David, if I'm right, that Maduro is a mole.
In my opinion, he is not faithful to the legacy.
I see.
I've spoken with some people that were defenders of Chavez, and they don't like Maduro at all because there's a lot of corruption issues and money laundering and things that don't help the people. Yeah. I tried to get help there. If Venezuelan television aired what I have to say about Spain and Catalonia and Scotland, they are always barking against Spain, but they don't buy it. And that's something that in my experience means that they work for the country that they deem to work. I spent 15 minutes on the phone with Telesur, which must be the Venezuelan equivalent of Al-Qaeda, maybe. I mean, like an international television with which is seen in lots of countries. And for 15 minutes, they said they could help, but then they never called back. And as I said, they not helping somebody that could help them advance their so-called disagreement for Spain. Spain organized a coup and an attempt to murder Chavez not so long ago while Aznar was prime minister here. They organized that, but it didn't work. So when I realized that, speaking with people there, seeing how things go, they bark, but they don't bite against Spain. And finally, they're in good relation with CUP, which is a so-called anti-system Catalan party. But this Catalan party has been very active committing state terror against me, which I'm for independence of Catalonia. So I've exposed them as moles themselves. And if you triangulate somebody who's friend of somebody who's attacking me and somebody who has a chance to hit Spain really hard as they pretend to want to do, and then they don't help with something which would be tremendously easy for them. It's a bit like
it's like George Smiley, isn't it? It's like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy with all these politicians.
The question is when you start and when you realize when you have some truth you can cling to, you realize I discovered that everything in Catalan politics is a lie. Everybody we know works for the other side. And then you see people from Northern Ireland, Basque Country, Venezuela supporting the official moles. So you have to guess that they're all together in this because when you say you have more information than me, an activist, if I have found out when you have a secret service in Venezuela, any country, it doesn't matter. They have it. They have to know it 10 times better than I do. So
well, I'll tell you what, David, right, I have to say this, is that King Juan Carlos, and let's face it, the Spanish royals not only control Spain, but they control the Spanish-speaking world, and that is basically Latin America. I know that Brazil is a Portuguese-speaking country, but, the royals of Madrid are the cousins, are they not, of the royals at Buckingham Palace? I
think so. Far away relations.
I tell you, the way I look at it is this. The royals run the show, okay? They're probably gone beyond trillionaires now, okay? Because they control the charters that are handed out that says you can be a bank or no, we're not going to give you a charter, so you can't be a bank. And that means that all the banks are always very deferential to these royal families because the royal families run the treasuries, they own the mints. There's a very big difference between being Rothschilds, which is a very big banking family, there's no two ways about it, but they don't own a mint. The royal families own these mints. They actually create the money. The bankers count and trade the money. There's a very big difference there. And what I see that there's basically one royal family in Europe. They're all intermarried. They're all interbred with each other. I'm including everything from King Gustav in Sweden and the north of Europe through to the Buckingham Palace royals down into Spain. It's one big firm. Okay, that's the way I look at things. And they've got their tentacles into everything. And as far as Latin America is concerned, we have hundreds of thousands of missing children going missing every 12 months. There must be now tens of millions of trafficked people who have just literally vanished into thin air in Latin American countries. What are the police doing about it? Nothing. There is so much endemic corruption in the police services. We've got a situation in Mexico where now it looks like there's allegations against Mexican police that they were actually going out in death squads targeting women. This is the police in Mexico. We've had death squads including the military in El Salvador, San Salvador. We've had problems in Honduras. We've had problems in Uruguay. That whole Central American area has just been a complete and utter load of economic and military carnage. We had Noriega. When Noriega's apartment was searched, Noriega was found with hundreds of voodoo dolls in his own private office. I mean, this guy was into voodoo the same as the Rockefellers were into voodoo. And this is all, interrelated. None of this is by accident. And so that's why I asked you to look at the situation with Venezuela. So what the good things, just to summarize it, David, the good things that Chavez did, I know that he was very heavily criticized because his children or his daughter has now become one of the richest people in the world. But he did actually start some social projects. The critics said, he's just throwing a few crumbs to the poor people, but at least he did do something. Those projects are now being damaged by Maduro. Is that right?
Yeah, I think the idea is to damage the Bolivarian revolution for 100 years, working from the inside. It's my impression. It's the same thing they're doing in Catalonia, where they let us reach almost independence, but they want to leave us depressed for 100 years. If I have a couple of minutes to talk about Catalonia.
Yeah, go for it,
This today has been relevant because finally it seems Catalonia is going to have a president tomorrow.
Now, so that means that Puigdemont, where is he? Is he in Germany? Is he in Belgium? Where is he?
Puigdemont is in Berlin, but he has anointed this guy with no political experience. He was an insurance salesman in Switzerland.
Yeah.
He was number 11 in the list, so it's a bit of a raffle or a lottery ticket to be Catalan president nowadays. This guy I met in 2015 in front of my home. I told him how everything is a scam and they were fooling us.
Wow.
And he ran away. It reminds me of the scene in Casablanca where the gendarme says, we're closing this because we found out there's gambling. And then somebody comes and says, your takings for the day, sir. So it's a bit like that. He knew very well there's gambling because he was getting a piece of it. So this guy knew very well everything is a lie because he's part of it.
Okay, and what's this new guy's name?
Quim Torra.
All right, can you spell his second name?
Torra is Torra.
Is that A for apple or is it E?
A for apple. A for apple. Yeah.
A for apple. Torra.
Torra.
Now,
yes.
Hang on a minute. Torra in Spanish, that either means tower or bull, doesn't it?
Yes, in Catalan it means that, and it also means rook, which is funny because considering this seems to be a chess game where Spain is playing both sides.
It means a rook or a bull. Yes. Does it mean a bull? No, a tower.
Would be toro, it would be tower. It means tower. Or also a chalet, a villa.
I see. Now, I don't want to, this is not a racist question at all, and I'll explain this now. If you ask if somebody is a Catholic, that means that they just follow the Catholic Catholicism. If you ask if somebody's a Christian, that means that they are following Christianity. I'd like to ask you, David, do you know if this guy is following any particular religion? Is he a Catholic?
No, I think he's a Catholic, and not only that, he studied in the Jesuits.
Well, a Jesuit is different. A Jesuit person is a person who followed Judaism but then converted to Catholicism. If you look up the Jesuits on Wikipedia, you can see that there's a whole subcategory, and it's called crypto-Judaism, and that is very interesting. It's a very interesting historical thing because many of the Inquisition members were part of this crypto-Judaic movement. So they were dressing as Catholics, they were going to Catholic masses, but in their own homes they had all of the paraphernalia, the menorah, and all of the normal paraphernalia that you would find with Judaism. So it was like a kind of fusion. Maybe that's what this guy is.
Maybe that might have evolved in the last centuries. You know better than I do. I studied in the Jesuits, but I didn't belong anymore. The main problem with him is he wrote a book. He's written a couple of books. One book saying that we should have been independent 1 year ago already, more or less. So the fact of him accepting the much less than independent Catalonia now, it's a matter of not putting your word or not acting on your words.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he made some xenophobic tweets against Spain or Spaniards some years ago. And all of this is raising tension. Where there's been a journalist in Madrid said, that Spain should bomb Catalonia. And we're still expecting that the courts will do something on this, because that's apology of genocide as far as I read it. So the tension is going up, which is what I mentioned. It's the plan. The whole plan is tension will rise. They hit us the 1st of October. European Union has started hinting that they're going to act on the violence of 1st of October. So everything seems to be working towards what I said to be the secret plan, which is to have a Scottish-style referendum that will lose, and then that will be it. And that's where my party, Directa 68, is opposing it, and we're going to bring independence to Catalonia.
I see. Now, can I ask you another question? Yes. Was the previous Catalan president, Puigdemont, was he Catholic? I mean, was he Christian? What was he?
He is Christian as well. Christianism is very dominant in Catalonia, especially in the right of center.
Now, hang on a minute. There's a big difference between being Christian or being Catholic. Which one was he?
No, but most people here who are Christian are Catholics in Catalonia.
So you're saying he's a Catholic?
Yes.
Yeah, because Catholicism is really different to the original teachings of Christianity.
Oh, I can see.
So that's very interesting. Do you think that Puigdemont was also a Jesuit?
I don't know now. I don't remember exactly. There's some people saying that these people are connected to Opus Dei, which is a very powerful.
Opus Dei is that's featured in the Angels and Demons movie. It's also featured in the first.
But I cannot. I don't know for sure. Film. Because I'm more in the political ways they're doing. We have found out this week, as I said before, that Artur Mas, 2 presidents ago, wanted to lead us the way of Puerto Rico, which is the only pro-Indy guy to want us to have less sovereignty than we had before. And they use our ignorance to do that.
Oh, my God.
Then he handpicked Puigdemont, which did 2 fake declarations of independence, then ran away. And then this guy handpicks one guy with no...
Okay, now let me just summarize this, David.
They call that democracy.
Right, so let me just summarize this. Puigdemont was democratically elected, but he failed the people because after the election the Gestapo tried to shut down the election, he deliberately failed to announce independence of Catalonia, which is what people had voted for.
Yes,
in actual fact, they voted for it for several times. Now, hang on a minute.
Yes.
He then goes on the run. He ends up in Belgium. Now he's in Berlin.
Yes.
Now what you're saying is that this guy presumably is going to stay in Germany, and he is now telling the Catalan people, of which there are millions of them, this new dude who's a Jesuit is now your new president.
Yes. Something like that, yes.
And who's going to vote for this guy? I mean, this guy is getting the job without voting.
The parliament is going to do it, but it's the second time round because Puigdemont already was voted by nobody.
I see.
But there was some problems, and then the former president ushered him in. Only 70 people chose him, so it's not democracy by any way.
Yeah.
They slow boil us to accept something that somebody has decided for us.
Yeah.
Because we don't see the dark forces that are behind the scene. That's why it's so important that we are putting the dots together and telling people how the relationship with these moles we've found out for 5 years. They're all moving behind the scenes to force us to lose a referendum and forget independence. And all forms part of this plan for the last 8 years. We've been voting, marching, doing everything that can be expected for us for 8 years. And we're still not independent because our own leaders don't want it.
Yeah, well, the thing to do is obviously to have an independent declaration of independence and, like I say, launch a legal class action, get a website running, get millions of people to sign up for this class action and sue the Madrid government for billions, trillions of euros for the Gestapo violence, the stress, the heartache that it caused people to see it all unravel on television, and give them an ultimatum. They either pay on a certain day. When that day goes, then the people of Catalonia start actually commandeering the buildings in Catalonia that are supposedly owned by the Madrid government. And you will see that once you've commandeered the first building, it's pretty worth tens of millions of dollars, you know, as a building in Barcelona. Only then will they recognize, oh dear, we better do something about this court case.
We need to do that, but I'll just to finish one thing. The question is, things are more rotten than we'd like to think, because this Quim Torra that possibly will be president tomorrow, he's been president or leader of the three biggest grassroots organizations about culture and independence. Well, when these organizations were told to help me, who was being tortured and kidnapped, none of them did anything about it. So all the organizations, everything that we see as Catalan is run by our enemies. So we need to find our own way. So things that you say, which are tremendously logical and we should do, they always are encumbered with problems because people we go to propose them, they work for the other side. So we're having to find our own ways.
Really, I mean, the suggestion I've got there is just to really start a class action, have it hosted on a server, which is outside of Catalonia. What will happen then is that the Spanish government will try and block people in Catalonia from signing up and even seeing that website. And that is when you launch your own legal action against the Spanish Madrid government for censorship of the website. And that, when you start taking the actual government to court, that's when it comes into the eye of the media, because they will say, hang on a minute, what is this all about? And why is the Spanish royals trying to stop this website from being seen? That makes the website famous. You then become very well known, like a website like WikiLeaks. And that's the first step to gathering millions and millions of people as part of a class action.
We'll look into it and we'll follow your advice. And thanks, as always, for this opportunity to be the only media with our own humble program. When the truth about Catalonia can be told anywhere in the world, because we suffer such a blockade where only the official news appears. So this is a ray of hope.
Just tell us, David, what is the population of Catalonia? Is it 7 million?
If we go to the strict Principate, it's 7.5 million. But then there's special relationships, you know, with Balearic Islands and with Valencia, which once we're independent, they'll have to decide their own future.
Wow, so 7.5 million people in Europe are under the cosh of the Gestapo. That's why we have David as our regular correspondent giving us an update on this, because there's no other radio show, as far as I'm aware, that is in the English language that goes out to such a large audience as this, that is regularly getting these updates. So next week, if you can come back to us, David, give us an update. What's happened with that new president.
Looking forward to it.
Hey, Duncan,
with the new president.
If you're still there,
I am.
Thank you so much, Duncan. We'll all be back next week. Hopefully, Scotty and Rod will be with us next week. Stay safe, everyone, and check out my Patreon page, and then we can all meet up in a big castle.
Hi everyone, it's Chris Gio here, founder of Truth Frequency Radio. It is with the deepest sorrow that I have to inform everyone of the passing of our shaman, teacher, healer, and fellow TFR host, William Whitecrow. William has been our guide throughout this journey, and him and Sue became like the parents we never had. We both learned so much from him, and he was on countless radio shows with us over the last 10 years, even hosting his own program, Quantum Quest. Cherie and I also share a very sacred bond with William, as he performed the Native American wedding ceremony for us on December 21st, 2012, which binded us together. As William was the sole provider, we would like to help out the family by covering the funeral expenses. Please visit tfrlive.com/whitecrow, and you will be redirected to the GoFundMe page. Or you can click on the banner on our front page.